Hey there, We Can't Wrestle podcast listeners. If you haven't noticed, we have switched our server to Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Highly recommended by me and everybody else here at the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. The brothers Maxon, Nate, and Aaron are here with you on this week's episode of the show. It's been a few weeks since we did a show, but to be perfectly honest, we don't make any money doing this, and our real jobs have kept us from being able to record for a couple of weeks, but we're back in business this week, and we got a lot coming up on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, now featured also on Spotify, by the way. Aaron, what's going on out there?
Nothing much.
Is there anything you want to say about, before we go into, well, I'll say really quick, this week on the show we are going to talk about our favorite finishing moves, and then we also each have a list of 5 guys that we think are overrated this week. So those will be our 2 topics of conversation. But I know you watched Double or Nothing, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that real quick.
I watched some of it.
Oh, you did? Okay. Because you don't watch, and the reason I'm interested is you don't watch a lot of modern product wrestling. So I was wondering what you were thinking about it. Like, did it hook you? Did it, I thought it was your standard modern wrestling pay-per-view. It didn't blow me away. It wasn't bad. It just didn't blow me away. I don't think it lived up to the hype, that kind of a thing.
I watched up until, and the reason I did was because to me I didn't want to watch anything else after it was, after Cody and Dustin were done, I just tuned out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me that was the main event of it, and I thought it was a good show, and I think to me the only thing it was that, I'm not like you said, I'm not a modern, I'm not hating on the product or anything like that. Like, I'm just, what wrestling presents now isn't something that I'm completely into.
Right.
And I think your first show shouldn't be a pay-per-view.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, you haven't had the time to build to the show, introduce characters. I mean, they did a little bit of that on the Being the Elite show, but let's be honest, how many people are out there watching the Be Elite show,
And I'm watching a match with like the BFFs and 2 guys that I know nothing about.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm watching a match with a bunch of Japanese ladies that I know nothing about.
Right. You have no investment in the characters.
Yeah. And the one was like dressed like Jack Black. And somebody told me, he's like, no, she's trying to be Freddie Mercury. It's like, well, no, she looks like Jack Black.
Nacho Libre.
Like, she had like a mustache. You know what chick I'm talking about?
Yes, I can't remember her name because I didn't know who any of them were either, to be honest with you.
I knew who Aja Kong was.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm saying I was unaware of most of the talent in that match.
And I didn't watch that Battle Royal because I watched like the day after it was on, and just the clips of the Battle Royal just, yeah.
It was pretty. The Battle Royal, if the Battle Royal was I don't know. If it was a way to get me to be interested in the pay-per-view, it didn't work. I thought, like you said, I thought Cody and Dustin was a good match. I did not. I don't know. Like I said, it was what it was, and I'm hoping that they can. I really
my thing is I'm not judging it until their show starts.
right, and I want them to succeed. I want
too.
competition in the industry because I've always been and we've discussed this on the show before, but even more than Aaron, I've always been a WWF WWE guy, and I want AEW to succeed almost selfishly as a WWE guy, so that WWE is forced to come out of their complacency and get better. They're just so complacent. They for years Vince hasn't had to worry about competition. TNA was like a pimple on his ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just pop that shit and move on. And I hope AEW does well, and I hope that they. I think one good step that they've made is that the championship match is not going to involve Cody. I was afraid that they were going to, it was going to wind up Cody's the first champ, like his daddy would have done. And I love Dusty, but his daddy would have done that. You know what I mean? And It's not going to be. It's going to be Hangman Page and Chris Jericho, and I'm hopeful for that. That's a good thing that the promoter, the booker, what have you, isn't going to be the champ. And it's also promising that they brought in people like Dean Malenko, to work with the guys, and hopefully Dean Malenko can be one of those guys to get because you can say what you want about WWE's storytelling, but overall the match quality in WWE is good. There isn't like crazy, you know what I mean? Like it's not like indies where it's just high spot. WWE's generally the matches are good.
Yeah.
And hopefully someone like a Dean Malenko and Billy Gunn can take these guys that have been on an indie scene that's kind of on a wild ride as far as high spots and stuff go, and teach them how to tell stories in the ring instead of just giving us all their signature spots and then going home. So that's my view. So I just like I said,
I'm not gonna judge their product till I think it's October.
Yeah, it's either September or October, when they're going to be on TNT. So there we go. All right, so
between reruns of The Closer and Bones.
Followed by a lawyer movie with Michael Douglas in it.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern with it being on TNT is like old people television.
This is true.
It's like there's like a cop show, but everybody's like 56.
And followed by Jag.
It makes like the old people feel like, oh look, he's old like me, but he's doing things.
All right, so we'll move on from that. And and by the way, folks, if you didn't hear, I'm sure you have. If you're listening to this show, I'm sure you have. Jon Moxley, the new IWGP United States Champion. So there's that too. Which I didn't know. I didn't know IWGP and AEW were like that. But anyway.
Well, like what?
I figured. I thought with AEW being a now a multi-million-dollar company with contracts and stuff, I didn't know they were going to be doing talent exchanges.
Well, they defended their only like title match was a AAA tag team title match on their pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't figure. I don't know how I want to put it. I didn't think their guys would be out there. I guess we're not to the TV show yet. We'll see how that goes once the TV show starts.
Yeah.
But all right. So now we're going to go on with our top 10 list for this week. This top 10 finishing maneuvers, top 10 finishers, and I kind of went with the way that I looked at it was, is it realistic? And I also picked the certain superstar that I select doing the move, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go first, and mine aren't really in order. Like, I don't know. I don't really have a number one with this list, so there's just 10 of them to discuss. But I'll let you
My,
go first.
I have a couple that are just personal favorites,
Mm-hmm.
and um, a lot that are you could like like you said, realistic. You could put it on anybody. Um, so we're just gonna go with my childhood favorite, and I think it would be everybody's childhood favorite. It would be Hulk Hogan's leg drop.
The leg drop. I mean, do you get a bigger pop? I mean, other than a stunner, do you get a bigger pop than the Hulk Hogan leg drop?
Talk about that. We'll talk about the stunner in a minute.
Okay.
But no, I mean, like to me, people can say what they want to say about Hulk Hogan, but the the blocking the punches, the you
Mm-hmm. The whole sequence.
the whole sequence, and then the leg drop. That was it, man.
And you knew.
It's the most simplistic finisher ever.
And
But
like
goddamn,
two or three people in the history of wrestling ever kicked out of that sumbitch.
yeah, and I mean, when Hogan hit you with the leg drop, that was it.
You were done, son.
Yeah, like for some reason, his leg was like, and they were never like, oh, Hogan has a steel plate in his leg. No, his leg is just fucking. It's gonna take you out.
It's a tree trunk.
Yeah, it was just great. Like I watch it now as a 36-year-old man, and for some reason, I still believe, you know what, that would finish the match.
Yeah, well, and like I said, it's the cool thing about that is it's part of a sequence, Like it wasn't I know you're saying the leg drop, the finisher, and that makes perfect sense. But it's the build up to it, the Hogan hulking up. And then Hogan shaking, and then like you said, Hogan going you, and then and then the big boot, and it just the whole build up to it. So then by the time the leg drop hits, it's like, well, of course this is over. So yeah, definitely. So the first one that I have on my list, again, not necessarily ranked number 10, but 10th on my list, is Bret Hart's sharpshooter.
Well, that was on mine.
The sharpshooter is one of those moves. Like I said, when I look at a finisher, like okay, if I'm suspending disbelief, or if I'm suspending belief,
Yeah, it's a super unrealistic move.
Do you think so? Because I think that if Bret Hart had me in a sharpshooter and he had my spine twisted like that and my legs twisted like that, and he was leaning back with all 240 something pounds of himself, it would hurt. It would hurt like fuck.
It would hurt. I'm just saying, like the practice of getting somebody in it.
Yeah, I mean, there were times that he would have matches where it didn't seem like the guy, obviously a jobber match, okay, well, you really haven't worn this guy down enough to get. But I think that is a move that is believable in, say, Bret Hart and Steve Austin, where the two guys have gone 25 to 30 minutes, and maybe Steve Austin's back and legs really are tired out. You know what I mean? And then now all of a sudden this 250-pound guy is twisting.
Yeah, I look at it I don't, like when I say it's unrealistic, and I'm telling you, I like it. Okay.
Right.
I like it. I like Brett's, Owens. I like the Scorpion Deathlock. Honestly, you know who used it first in the WWF?
Hmm.
Do you remember?
I do not.
It's Terry Taylor.
Really? I don't remember that.
Terry Taylor used it, and you know what they called it?
Uh-oh.
The cock of the walk.
I forgot all about that.
Terry Taylor used it first, and Terry Taylor had a good cock of the walk. But, like, I look at it like, okay, I'm not like, a scrapper or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if I got in a bar fight, I could deck a guy.
You'd have to wind up on your belly.
And then maybe drop my leg on him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If I want to, I'll drop him. I'll drop my leg on that motherfucker. You know, but I'm not gonna like put him in the sharpshooter. Like people will be like, "What are you doing?"
It's like a Boston crab and a figure four. Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the move. It's aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
And honestly, like if you would get somebody in it, it would hurt. But
and
it's
the
in
one
the scheme of wrestling, it's very cool. But in the scheme of reality, it's unrealistic.
You know what's funny? Like the most famous sharpshooter is obviously Austin at WrestleMania 13. Okay, obviously. Yeah. But you know who actually, to me, took the sharpshooter the most convincingly? Jerry Lawler. And I don't know if it was because of how Jerry Lawler's body is or whatever, but Bret Hart could like bend that motherfucker in half.
Like basically put his heel on his head.
Yeah, like Jerry Lawler took that. He made that look fucking amazing. Like I don't know. Jerry Lawler took the best sharpshooter. All right, so what's next on your list?
It is I know I said yours was unrealistic, so I'll use my unrealistic one, and then the rest of them I think are pretty as far as wrestling can go, you can say, hey, this could be done.
Mm-hmm.
The next one on my list would be the Crippler Crossface.
I actually have the Crossface on my list, and I put Chris Benoit as the example. The Crossface, again, I think that's like the sharpshooter. Like, you're right in that it would be hard to get it applied, but once it was applied, I think it would hurt like hell.
Yeah.
And I would tap out to it. But hence the name of the podcast, I Can't Wrestle. So
you're basically using somebody's own arm as their weapon, like their own arm as a weapon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing. But yeah, I think the Crossface is. I said it before with the sharpshooter. It's an aesthetically pleasing move.
Yes, it looks like it hurts like fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, like you said,
there's different variations of it, like the STF.
Mm-hmm.
The Crossface chicken wing, which is kind of the same thing.
I know we don't talk about him a lot on the show just because of our personal feelings about him, but if I'm talking about that move, Benoit is definitely the best at it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it with him when he applied it, it was his body size as compared to like if Chris Benoit is putting the Crossface on Triple H, to me that's believable because Chris Benoit is not small,
stout.
But right, he's the size that he could get that taller, lankier guy into that hold and be like a fucking spider monkey on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I had the Crossfaces. I had it 6th on my list, so we'll cross that off of mine. And unless you have anything else on that one,
nope.
The next one on my list, because I think that I think that this one is one that does look like it would knock you the fuck out. And it's been diminished over the years because of the way WWE books finishes now, with false finishes and finishing maneuvers. But you talk about it back in the day, I think the F5 with Brock Lesnar. If that dude took me and flung me up in the air and then brought me down on the mat face first, I would probably be out cold too. Like I said, I think it's been diminished now because, now you have a match where he gives John Cena like 5 F5s and Cena kicks out. And that's just shitty modern booking.
Yeah.
But the move in and of itself, I think, is a convincing move, and it's done by the right person to make it convincing. And I got to go with the F5.
Yeah, I like the F5. It was taught to him by his mentor,
Jim Cornette.
Mark Marrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is the TKO not an F5?
No, because it's Mark Maron and Brock Lesnar. There's a difference.
Well, they got one thing in common.
Oh, that punani.
No, they wrestle in gym shorts.
Mm. That too, and they both have it. They both have had a gimmick where they dance, and
Yeah.
stupid. All right. Yeah, other than the that,
I like the dancing Brock Lesnar.
I like the dancing Brock Lesnar Akeem thing. That's great.
Like I watched a couple of things, like somebody superimposed like a boombox and some other shit, and it's funny. Like I haven't watched it on Raw, but dancing Brock, like him dancing with the Money in the Bank thing, is funny.
Brock party. All right. So
is that a thing they do?
That's what they call it, Brock party.
Oh, when they give it a name, they fuck it up.
Yeah. Well, that's what they do nowadays. Come on, AEW.
Did they do hashtag Brock party?
I haven't seen that yet, but I'm sure it'll happen. Michael Cole will say it too. Hashtag Brock party.
When they take something organic and fuck it up.
Yeah. Hashtag Brock party for the Beast in the Bank. Well, so what's next on your list?
Suck my dick if they do that. The next one on my list is a childhood favorite that I still... It might be a childhood favorite, and you might tell me it's unbelievable or whatever, but I love it. Is the Randy Savage elbow drop.
I don't have it on my list, but I agree with you. And you know what? It is a childhood favorite of mine, too. And talk about aesthetically pleasing. And not to mention, I mean, in reality...
I would do that to somebody.
Right. An elbow to your fucking chest bone would hurt like shit.
Yeah, I'll climb up on this table and elbow you.
So, yeah, I agree. The elbow drop. The Randy Savage elbow drop. I'll give you that one.
And you can do, and Randy Savage, it's a finisher that I will say on the rest of these, it's something you can do to anybody.
Yes.
Like because you're on whoever you got is on their back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not picking them up. He's not moving them around. He knocks them on their ass, on their back, whatever you want to say, and then he screws up real quick. And he drops his 210-pound frame on top of you. That's gonna take anybody out.
And that is where that actually applies to my next one on my list too, and that is Billy Kidman's shooting star press.
Yeah.
It is aesthetically pleasing, and even though Billy Kidman is small by wrestler standards, by human being standards, he's a big man. And for him to have that kind of torque and, like you said, land on your prone body, I think it could knock the wind out of you for 3 seconds for you to be able to be pinned. I love Billy Kidman's shooting star. I've seen a lot of them, and I still think he has the best one.
Yeah.
Well, probably not now.
But...
Now he's got a shooting star burger press. But
he's part of the reason I think it's Kidman is because, and I'm sure there were probably people that did it before him over in Japan or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But in my childhood, he's the first guy I saw do it.
Right.
And I think Billy Kidman's honestly. I mean, we're talking about overrated. We're going to talk about overrated later. Billy Kidman's underrated.
Absolutely. Yes, Billy Kidman was and still is when I go back and watch it now. Billy Kidman to me was one of the unsung heroes of WCW during the Monday Night Wars. Like I loved watching Billy Kidman. Like now, full disclosure, Aaron and I would watch Raw live and then WCW Nitro videotaped. But if for some reason we were flipping back and forth, Billy Kidman was one of the guys that could keep me watching Nitro over Raw.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what he was going to do. He was innovative. He was right there. To me, he's right there with Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. And like you said, I mean, totally underrated. Does not get the credit he deserves. Anything else on that one?
You got to give him credit for
Tori
punting his coverage too. And like, Jesus Christ.
Hey.
I mean,
absolutely. Good job, Billy. So what's the next one on your list?
It is the DDT.
It was actually first on my list. So I'll knock that off. The DDT would knock you the fuck out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a bar fight and you get a guy
if you do that move to somebody in public, like in front of just regular people, like you're just somewhere and a guy shoves you, okay, and then you kick him in the stomach, and a guy bends over for a second, and you grab his head in your arm, and then you drop his head into the ground. People were going to be like, that's fucked up, man.
Now, in real life, that guy would have two black eyes.
And you would be incarcerated.
Right.
And everybody in the bar would be like, it doesn't matter what that guy did to you. That was fucked up.
And, you know, we can say what we want about him as a person, but I do have here Jake Roberts has the best DDT. Because, I mean, no matter what you say about him as a person, as a performer, you know, promos and stuff, Jake was a great performer, and I think that his DDT was the most succinct and the most convincing.
Yeah, I liked Arn's.
Yeah, Arn's was good. Like, you know, Arn's had a little bit of a... you're right. I mean, Arn had a little bit more of a spike even to his. Like, he would bring a guy closer down on the bottom of his head.
But it had some stank on it.
I always liked Jake's. I mean, I always liked mixed
Jake's
double arm DDT too.
Yeah, Jake's was flashier. Like,
yeah,
he'd grab you and like do the thing and drop him down. You know, Arn would just be like,
bam, just like that spine buster.
Yeah, it's like I don't fucking care what these people think. Bam, there you go, bitch. You know, like, I liked Arn's.
Yeah. Like I said, Mick's too, like the double arm DDT from Mick with his weight and everything, like the visual of that was always really good too. And Dean Ambrose. I mean, the Dirty Deeds is a good DDT too. All right. So the next one on my list, because, I mean, to be perfectly honest, when I watched this, and this was one of my favorites when I was younger, when you watch this move, you think, oh, that guy he just did this move on is crippled now. And that is Scott Steiner's Frankensteiner.
All right.
Scott Steiner would fuck a motherfucker up with a Frankensteiner.
I thought you were going to say the Garvin Stomp.
Yeah,
okay.
Fuck that shit. We'll talk about that later in this overrated list. But anyway, the Frankensteiner.
Yeah. What was it? Was it Blake Beverly?
Oh my God! Yeah, Royal Rumble '93.
It's an amazing one on Blake Beverly.
He does a really, and you know, you can always tell that he's working with somebody that's, you know, like, you know what I mean. But anyway, he does a really awesome one on when him and Flair have that match on I think it's a Clash of the Champions, or maybe it's the Saturday Night match. I don't remember, but it was when the Steiners. Remember when the Steiners were about to leave WC? No, it wasn't that. When Flair was getting ready to leave WCW, and he had those matches with Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
There was one on Saturday Night and one on a Clash of the Champions, and I don't remember which one it was, but he gives Flair a really good one too. And then it's always funny. It's kind of like the Road Warrior. We talk about the Road Warriors with jobbers, like the jobbers are scared of the Road Warriors when they come out. Like it's always fun to watch a Steiner squash match to see what kind of Frankensteiner you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Like the Frankensteiner on Dwayne Gill might not be too bad because, you know, Dwayne Gill's a pro and he's a, you know what I mean? they respect Dwayne Gill and blah blah blah. But the Dwayne Gill or the Frankensteiner on Bob Smith with his pudgy ass and mullet.
That might fuck him up a little bit.
Ah, shit. All right. So if there's not anything else on that, what's your next one?
Well, I like watching the Steiners in general, like when they just don't like somebody.
Like watch Rick Steiner and Conan. It's not a good match.
Yeah.
But damn.
But some up. The next one on my list would be a move that you can hit on anybody. Would be Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music.
I didn't have it on my list, but I agree. Now, and he's my favorite wrestler ever, but as time went on, it was a little bit, convoluted with the stomp and the build up to it. But that's kind of like Hogan's thing,
Yeah.
It's the build up. It's a show. It's a series of stuff leading up to the finish. But yeah,
the reason I thought it worked with him
mm-hmm.
is that tell me any match that Shawn Michaels was ever in that he was the bigger guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when he first started, when he first turned heel, he was using the fucking back suplex or whatever.
Yeah.
If he becomes the world champion,
is he gonna do that to the Undertaker?
Yeah, is he gonna do that to the Undertaker? Is he gonna do that to Sid Vicious? Is he gonna do that to Vader? Is he gonna do that to Kevin Nash?
Right.
But he can kick a motherfucker in the face.
And he can get his leg up there, too. I mean,
it doesn't matter if you're 110 pounds or you're 225 pounds. You kick a motherfucker in the face, you're kicking him in the face.
Yep, and he had the ability to get, if he had the ability to get his foot up that high to kick Kevin Nash in the chin.
Yeah, he's gonna.
God bless him.
And it doesn't matter if you're the size of all those guys. If you get kicked in the fucking face, you're getting kicked in the face.
Right.
So that's why I would put that on there, because that's something that you could legitimately do to anybody else, or anybody in the ring. You do that to them, you could possibly knock that guy out for at least 3 seconds to pin him.
Absolutely. I agree. So the next one on my list is another one that you can get on anybody, and excuse the pun, but out of nowhere, it's the RKO. Randy Orton's RKO.
I had that on. Mine said RKO/Diamond Cutter.
Mm-hmm. I prefer Randy's because it's crisper, I think, or something. I mean, Randy's kind of taken DDP's move and made it his own, I guess.
I prefer it because it's anybody other than Diamond Dallas.
But yeah, like you said about the chin music, you can hit the RKO on the Big Show, and yeah. I mean, if you're cracking his face down into the mat, it doesn't matter how fucking tall he is. Actually, it's probably worse because he's coming down from 7 feet instead of 6 feet.
Yeah.
But yeah, the RKO definitely on my list. And again, sometimes with the RKO there is a show to it, but that's what wrestling's about.
Yeah.
I think he took what DDP had and improved it greatly. Let's put it that way. So that's the RKO from Randy Orton, who took DDP's move, and apparently the consensus has made it better. So what's next on your list, Aaron?
It involves somebody you mentioned when you were talking about the RKO. It would be the Big Show and his knockout punch.
That is actually, it's funny, that is the next one on my list. Is there possibly a more believable finisher than Big Show's knockout punch?
Nope.
I mean, when a guy with a hand the size of a frying pan punches you in the face, you're probably not getting up after 3 seconds.
No. And Big Show is like a guy, like, I don't want to say that I don't, like let me say it this way. I wouldn't put Big Show in like my top 10 favorite wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
But I would actually probably put Big Show, he'd be in my top 20.
Yeah. Well, I'm
a fan of the Big Show.
Me too. For a guy his size, his weight, he's had moments in his career where he's ballooned up but I mean, overall, in general, I mean, you've got a 500-pound guy, yeah, I don't know, 450, and build at 500 a lot of the time, that can throw a drop kick.
Yeah, like my thing is, like, I might not put him in my top 10 favorite wrestlers, and I wouldn't be mad if somebody didn't.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody doesn't put Big Show in their top 5 best big man wrestlers, they're a fucking liar.
Right. I mean, and no disrespect to Andre, but Big Show was everything Andre was and, like, 10 times more athletic.
Yeah.
And I know Andre in his youth, you know, could do some amazing shit for his size too, but Big Show is impressive, and that knockout punch, like I said, I mean, that might not be my favorite finisher ever, but it is definitely, to me, the most believable finisher ever.
Yeah, if that guy hits you in the face, you're going down.
There's no doubt about it. I don't care who you are.
It doesn't matter who the fuck you are.
So I have 2 left.
So do I.
And one of them is, this one is, I guess it could be seen as unbelievable, but I love the move, so I put it on the list anyway because I personally mark out for it. And that is Petey Williams' Canadian Destroyer.
That's super unbelievable.
I know.
It's a pretty move.
It's a fucking amazing move. I love that move. Like, I remember, I hearkened back when I was thinking about this list, and I just hearkened back to the first time I ever saw him do that, and I was like, that is one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen in a wrestling ring.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it is unbelievable. But
honestly, you know.
But is it more? Is it? To me, it's not any more unbelievable than a sunset flip. Really.
Well, I was gonna say that it's not any more unbelievable than the Frankensteiner.
Right.
Because it's basically the Frankensteiner in reverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the Canadian Destroyer.
Frankensteiner's not a believable move.
Right.
Like, if some guy was just, like, running at you, you would just jump up and, like, boom, there you go. You know what I mean? That wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, if you tried to hit the Frankensteiner in real life, you would land on your own head.
So I guess I'd say the Canadian Destroyer is my favorite mark-out, for me, finisher.
Yeah. And I'm not making fun of it. You know, it's a beautiful move. And it's...
And, you know, but the funny thing about it is, I don't mean to cut you off. The funny thing about it is, I have to say, I've seen other people do it, and the only 2 that I ever really like are Petey Williams, and it was actually up until, a couple of months ago, or last month, it was just Petey Williams. But then I saw Ricky Morton do it, and I marked out for that. But any of the other guys that I've ever seen do it, I wasn't that terribly impressed with it. Like, Petey just has a snap to it and stuff that's...
Who was that tubby guy in the WWF? WWE tried to do it.
I don't remember.
He was Trevor Murdoch. Trevor Murdoch tried to do it a couple times.
Did he? I don't even remember that. The gallon of milk guy?
Yeah, it was rough. Watching him do it.
But yeah, that Petey Williams, it was like, for me, it was, I only want to see Petey Williams do it, and then I saw Ricky Morton do it, and I was like, all right.
Ricky Morton can do it.
But Ricky Morton's like, you know, one of the best wrestlers of all fucking time, so.
Ricky Morton can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Ricky Morton's a better wrestler at, 60-something years old than half the wrestlers that have ever existed.
Yeah.
So,
I
wake
had
the
more
fuck
fun.
up!
Yeah, you're gonna be mad at this, but I had more fun watching Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson having that match with that silly tag team
Mm-hmm.
at that convention than I did watching AJ Styles and Randy Orton have that match at that house show we went to.
Yeah. No, I mean, we got, for those of you that don't know, I know we posted pictures and stuff on our Facebook group, but we got to see the Rock and Rolls in person live. We got to meet them. We got to watch them wrestle, and
I got to watch them come out.
It's for all the wrestling shows I've ever been to, for all the superstars I've ever met. The Rock and Rolls is one of my favorite wrestling experiences of my life.
And they came out. They came out to ELO. Rock and Roll was king. It was fucking great.
It was a good time. All right, what's next on your list?
I'll do the one that I think I know because you mentioned it and I mentioned it a little bit ago. That's going to be on both of our lists. Is the Stone Cold Stunner?
No, it's actually not on my list.
Oh, I thought it might have been because you said something about. I'll talk about that later, but
no, I like the Stunner, but it's not on my list.
Stone Cold Stunner is like the RKO. You can put that on anybody.
Absolutely.
Like, you could come walking up to me at the airport and be like, "Hey, I'm back from the vacation I was in, and I can just kick you in the gut and up down your ass, you know?"
And then wag your head and jack talk me.
Yeah. And throw my beer in your face and tell you to get your own fucking ass home and just leave the airport.
And we're talking about the Stunner, and you're right, it's a fantastic move. What's your favorite Stunner?
Like,
what's the best one ever?
Like, that makes me laugh the most?
No, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, what is your aesthetic for the Stunner? What's your favorite Stunner? Because I actually have two, and it's, I mean, it sucks, but I have two. I'm being a jerk and having two.
I have a few that I really love. I love the first time Vince takes it.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Because he takes it and then he's out.
He flops like a
They're
dead.
putting him in ambulances.
Yeah, he's fucking flops like
3 years later, he's taking it. And
he's immune to it.
He's commentary.
Yeah,
like, immune to it.
For Vince McMahon, the Stunner's like polio. You know, like he got the vaccine, and instead of 1, it takes 15 to take him out permanently. But yeah, that first one's one of my favorites too, because he doesn't even like. It's great because his body's just limp. Like there's no.
Like I said, like 3 years later, he takes it, and then the next segment he's on commentary. I can't believe this.
Just holding his jaw a little bit to sell it.
Austin's a son of a bitch, you know. Like, I love that one, and then it was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to like some of the wacky ways The Rock would take it.
Where he'd like bounce out of it and stuff.
Yeah.
Starfish.
Yeah, I like that.
My favorite one was your favorite one. It was the first Vince one. But I also oh, go ahead.
I like when he, and it's not even the fact that the way the guy takes it, but I loved when he stunned Lawler and then he punted his crown. That was fun.
My second favorite one is Phineas Godwin at Royal Rumble 97.
Yeah.
Like, that's, ironically, that's like my second favorite one. Because he just trash talks the fuck out of him after he gives him that one.
Steve made they made a VHS tape of Steve where he was still like the Stone Cold, like, you know.
Yeah, the Brian Pillman swirly Stone Cold.
Yeah, like he was an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Like the real asshole.
Don't count me down.
Like Dr. D, David Schultz, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going over the Royal Rumble and he's like talking about he's done this guy in the Phineas comes out and he stuns him, and then Steve's talking shit in the ring, and Steve's like commentating over this thing, and then he stuns Phineas Godwin. Phineas Godwin, he goes, I stunned him, and then I said, "You get out of that ring, you smelly son of a bitch." It just cracked me up, man. 13-year-old Aaron Stone Cold was like, "Pow! You get out of the ring, you smelly son of a bitch." I must have rewound that 400 times, laughing my ass off. And he was talking about Shawn Michaels. He's like, "You don't see me coming out here with no gay ass sparklers behind me." Man, it was great.
Oh yeah, the like 96,
97 Stone Cold.
Oh god damn. For those of you that are younger listeners that didn't live through 96, 97, you didn't live. As far as a wrestling fan goes, it was the most amazing time in wrestling ever. To us.
Steve Austin tried to drown one of Brian Pillman's supposed friends in a kiddie pool in a driveway. And then Brian Pillman pulled a gun on him.
I mean, there probably is, but for that time frame, at that very time when we were watching live and in person, I mean, is there anything more fun than Brian Pillman talking shit in that bathroom and then Austin with that shit-eating grin coming up behind him?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fucking perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And
it's good stuff.
All right, so you did the stunner. And before we get too long-winded on this, I guess I have one more left here.
I have one more, and then I'm gonna take
a break.
Yeah, I got.
Yeah. We'll take a break when we're done here. The next one on my list is and the one that I prefer the most is done by Curt Hennig, but it's the Fisherman's Suplex. And of course, Curt Hennig called it the Perfect Plex because he was Mr. Perfect. But a big fan of the Fisherman's Suplex as a finishing hold. If applied properly, it's another one of those ones that realistically 3 seconds is all it takes to win a wrestling match, and that would be a pain in the ass to get out of.
Yes, it would. I'll give you that one. And it's not one like I was saying where it would be, and I have a couple of mine that were unrealistic. To me, it's not super unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that to somebody if you really beat them down enough.
Now, granted, if you were in a fight at a bar or something, it wouldn't be as grandiose.
Yeah,
it would be more like two fat guys kind of rolling over.
Yeah,
but if you could get in position properly,
and if not, it would be a very matter-of-fact situation. Like, there wouldn't be a lot of
not a lot of room to give.
Like you would do that to somebody, and then you'd be like, "Oh shit, it's Christopher Reeve, this guy."
But yeah, that's the Fisherman's Suplex.
You're gonna have somebody putting on your shoes the rest of your life. You're not gonna be doing it.
So what's last on your list?
Like, I hope you like applesauce. That's all you're eating. Jesus.
Perfect.
What's the last one on my list?
Yes.
Is the Superfly Splash.
I almost
need some Jimmy Snuka. And I know you kind of like when I told you, like when we did that dream card or whatever a couple months back, and I was like, oh, my main event would be Ric Flair versus Jimmy Snuka. And I know he was a horrible human being. I love Jimmy Snuka, man. I love me some Jimmy Snuka, and that Superfly Splash. Watching him do that.
No, and I honestly, I almost put the Superfly Splash on my list. It's funny because So I'm not disagreeing with you, because the move is again, it's like the shooting star press, or the Randy Savage elbow drop. You have your opponent. The story is, you have gotten your opponent worn down to the point where you have them prone on the mat. You get to go to the top rope. You fly off the top rope and you bring whatever it is, part of your body, down on their body, and it takes their breath away. And the only reason that I didn't put this on my list was I went with the shooting star press because of the theatrics of it.
Yeah.
Because I thought Superfly Splash, I thought Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam's 5-star frog splash, and I thought Jimmy Snuka. So we kind of came. It's good that we picked different people, but it's almost the same concept, I guess.
Yeah, and the 5-star frog splash, and the frog splash from Eddie and like Billy Kidman's, they're prettier.
But Superfly's was first.
And not even the fact that it's first, like when you, and it was almost the way it was, like mainly WWF, because that's what I watched when I was a kid. The way they shot it, they shot it at that angle of. They made sure that when Jimmy Snuka hit the Superfly Splash, the cameraman was like at the apron shooting up.
Right.
So it looked even more impactful.
Well, and it's even better.
He was like fucking Jimmy Snuka was like a Greek god. You know what I mean? Like he was just chiseled like like nobody's fucking business.
And if you, and I know you have, but for those that haven't, Aaron and I are talking about 80s, like late 80s, 90s Snuka Splash. You go back to even before you and I were watching, you go back to the 70s and the early 80s and watch crazy-eyed, just, I mean, like, I didn't even appreciate Jimmy Snuka when I was a kid, other than that splash. Like, Jimmy Snuka is one of those guys as a performer, not as a person, obviously.
Yeah, but always a shit human being.
As a performer, he's one of those guys that I didn't truly appreciate until I got older. Because I went back and watched the older stuff, especially when he was a heel. Like, you and I were exposed to kind of cheesy babyface Snuka, you know what I mean?
And
crazy-eyed heel Snuka's fucking amazing.
Yeah, and like I said, like I can even remember being kids, and
I actually prefer him as a heel.
Yeah, he's good. Like, but I'm just saying, like I even remember as a kid, like I was like, oh, Superfly, and you didn't dig it. I'm not knocking you or whatever.
No, I know. At that time, I was indifferent to him.
Even as a kid, I was like a Superfly Jimmy Snuka fan.
Yeah, and at WrestleMania 7, when Undertaker beat him, I was like, yeah.
And then, like, I was such a fan of Superfly Jimmy Snuka that when all the shit came out, I was more upset about that than I was Bill Cosby. I was like,
damn you, Superfly. Damn you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that that wraps up that segment, unless you have anything else.
Nope.
So we'll take a break here. We have covered our finishers, and up next we will talk about. And I kind of did this list quick. We brought it up late in the conversation about what we're going to have on the show, so I thought about it quickly. A few of them are very obvious, and then a couple others I had to think about a little harder. Well, a couple of them are very obvious for me personally, anyway. Anybody that listens to the show or has heard me talk or anything.
These aren't even like top, like these are the guys that I think on mine. These are just 5 guys that I think are overrated.
Me too. So yeah, when we come back, we'll talk some underrated wrestling superstars. And we will be right back here
Not underrated, sorry, overrated.
Overrated. Yes, I said underrated. My bad. Underrated or overrated wrestling superstars. When we return here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, we'll be right back after this. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And just want to remind you out there, if you're listening, like I said at the beginning of the show, the We Can't Wrestle podcast now available on Spotify. So we are available on any podcast app that you are prefer to use, I should say, or any streaming service now. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, anywhere you want to find your favorite podcast, you can find the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And also, I would be remiss if I did not tell you, and probably in the doghouse, if I did not tell you to check out the podcast that I have with my beautiful wife, Kendall, the Motley Soup podcast. It's not a wrestling podcast, but it is a podcast about life and general topics. We talk about many different things. And actually, Randy Savage came up on the latest episode of the show, talking about Slim Jims. And then one more thing before we continue, I want to remind you, I posted a link today to the GoFundMe account for Jerry Gray, who was a great professional wrestler back in the 1980s and a big part of Jim Crockett Promotions and Mid-South Wrestling. And Jerry is battling stage 4 cancer, and anything you can give to Jerry's GoFundMe account is greatly appreciated, as it helps him with medical bills, life necessities, food, groceries, anything. So if you could give to that, just click the link on our Facebook page and Facebook group for the GoFundMe for Jerry Gray, and Aaron will attest to that. Jerry's a great guy, a great storyteller, and we just want to help him out.
Yep.
Yarp. So now we're going to talk about overrated wrestlers. Jerry Gray, not one of those, but we both have some, and I let you start the last one, so I'll start this one.
Okay.
And like I said, we came up with this last minute, so we're supposed to have 5. I have 6, because I'm cheating. But I'll call it a tie for number 5. The first one is great on the mic, but not blowing me away in the ring. A former world champion, and that's the superstar Billy Graham.
I hate the superstar Billy Graham.
Now, I'm not talking personally. He's a piece of shit as a person. I'm even talking just in general. Like, the guy has, all right, so he had charisma. But let's be honest, those promos he cut were like the same promo over and over again.
Yeah, so I hate him.
And his in-ring ability was pretty ass, really.
Yeah. You're not going to get like an argument out of him.
No argument.
I hate him.
So the second guy that I have tied for number 5 is Goldberg.
Oh, I have to take Goldberg off my list.
It's crazy because I think Goldberg 20 whatever teen is better than Goldberg when we were younger and in the Monday Night Wars when he was a big deal.
Yeah.
You look back on it now, and you look at the Monday Night Wars now, and you watch those old Nitros. I mean, I don't know, a phenomenon, yes, but totally overrated. Like I've never seen a great Goldberg, like a great Goldberg match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's boring. one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this, even when they did try to put him in a story, as maligned as the finger poke of doom Nitro is, they tried to put Goldberg in a story in that one, the whole deal with Elizabeth. And yeah, the story was kind of convoluted and everything, but it's fucking professional wrestling. Stories are convoluted. It is what it is. Even in that kind of an environment, as a performer, he wasn't convincing.
Sucked.
Yeah. All right, so I'm glad we agree on Goldberg. And Billy Graham, actually. So I'll let you go with your first one, I should say.
All right. I'm gonna go with Taz.
Yeah?
CW Taz.
ECW Taz?
Yeah, like what? Because I won't even bring up like WWF Taz because he wasn't portrayed as like a main eventer.
Right. And he was a great color commentator.
Oh, he was great as a commentator. I'm talking as a wrestler. Like when I watch ECW now and Taz is on, I'm like, yeah.
So
I'm not big on him.
So I'm just taking what you said here and building on it. I'm not this isn't on my list, but you said it. You said Taz ECW. So could I put on most overrated ECW?
If you want. There's things I like about ECW.
I think see ECW with me is it just doesn't age well. Like I watch it now and like back then I don't know even how to put it because it was revolutionary. I'm not trying to demean that, but and it's even like when I look back on it now, it's not even like it's not revolutionary, but it doesn't stand up to time. I don't know. That's the only way I can put it. Like, I watch it now, and I'm like, I fast forward to a lot of it,
Yeah, it's fine. But
yeah, Taz, I can see that. Like, I don't know. I think Taz benefited from the fact that I think the promoter liked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But a lot of what Taz did was the same thing you just said about, like, Superstar Billy Graham. And I know they're completely different people. I mean, one's like a big jacked up white guy, and the other one's like a orange midget. So they're like the same person. But a lot of what Taz did was repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have like people act like he had like these great matches or whatever, and he really didn't. He had some good matches depending on who he was working with, and honestly, like there's a lot of people that talk about like the Taz Sabu feud,
mm-hmm.
and that was cool and everything because it went so long. But like the coolest Taz feud was this feud with Shane Douglas and Triple Threat. Like that was good stuff, but. One feud a career do not make,
It may sound odd when I say it, and you can tell me if you think I'm right. But you made a good point, and Taz had some good matches with some good talent, and it depended on who he was in the ring with and who he was working with. So, in a way, you could almost compare Taz to Lex Luger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, as long as he had the right opponent, he was good.
Right, yeah, like as long as...
If he was the guy that was supposed to carry it,
Yeah.
Not gonna be that good. I think ECW Taz is overrated.
The next guy on my list, I compare his wrestling career to I call him the JFK of wrestling. It sounds morbid, but I think it holds water. And that's Magnum TA. John F. Kennedy wasn't a fantastic president. He had some stupid shit go down. He probably wasn't going to get reelected, but he got assassinated, and he became a cult of personality. And Magnum TA, I kind of liken his wrestling career to the presidential career of John F. Kennedy. And that I think that he is held in higher regard because his career got cut short by a horrific accident, which shouldn't have. I'm not demeaning his livelihood or anything like that. But I'm just saying I think that he is held in higher regard because of that. I don't think Magnum TA was really that good. He was okay.
I like Magnum TA.
I find him to be overrated. I don't watch Magnum TA and get sucked into my television like people would have you believe that you would be.
Yeah. When you said like JFK, I thought you were gonna like say like Chris Benoit because he took a lot of shots to the head.
That was good.
No. Sorry.
But yeah, I don't know. I think TA's over. And again, I'm not saying he wasn't over, and I'm not saying he wasn't good. But I think he was overrated because of how the unfortunate incident that occurred that ended his career. And I have mad respect for the man. You know, I'm not, like I said, I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I'm not demeaning his accident. I'm not saying he wasn't a decent wrestler.
The only reason I won't agree with it is because I don't think he had enough time to be considered overrated.
Okay, and I can see that. I understand. But just to me, like, he's held in this.
I think if the guy would have not had that happen to him,
mm-hmm.
people would even talk even more fondly about him. Because the way they were booking him wasn't always gonna be like 30-second belly to belly suplex matches.
Right.
You know what
Well,
I mean?
and I'm not even.
Eventually, that guy was gonna be having hour-long matches with like Ric Flair and doing his thing and being a champ and
that could be from a perspective of what we foresee or what we see in the ring. Like, I know that you are a bigger fan of TA and Blanchard than I am. You know, like I know their feud captured people's imagination, but to me, it didn't. I mean, it didn't capture enough people's imagination to beat the WWF at the time. So and it's not that, again, it's not that it wasn't good. It's not. But to me, it's overrated. To you, it's probably not. I know you love TA, you love Blanchard. That's your deal. But just for me, from a personal perspective, I don't see it in TA. I think that he would have probably had more of a he probably would have had more of a Lex Luger career than a Bret Hart career. He would have been a big deal for a little bit in both promotions and then fizzled.
Possibly.
But that's just me.
Okay.
Next.
I think we're going to be unanimous on this, hopefully. The next guy on my list is Diamond Dallas Page.
I agree with you. I don't have him on my list, but I absolutely agree with you. Diamond Dallas Page is a guy that benefited from the Monday Night Wars. For sure.
Yeah. He's junk.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with like I said, he's not on my list, but I absolutely agree with you on DDP.
Like every time I bring up DDP, people are like, well, he had a great feud with Randy Savage.
Well, no, Randy Savage had a great feud with...
Fucking moron.
Yeah.
Crotch had a goddamn good feud with Randy Savage.
Repo Man had a good feud with
Man.
Randy Savage for 2 weeks.
Go sit the fuck down. DDP is trash.
Absolutely. He's overrated as fuck.
Yeah. Like the only thing that guy ever did that I enjoyed was when he didn't even know he was on microphone. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
He's getting ready to bring. It's like gonna be like him and the Freebirds and Big Daddy Dink.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna come out on like this WCW show, and he doesn't know his mic is hot, and like they're Gary Michael Capetta is introducing them, and like Paige Falkenberg is just being Paige Falkenberg, and he doesn't know that his mic's hot, and he's like, "Are we live? Are we live?" And then he like looks at like the broads that they're with, and he's like, "Shut up, just shut up!" Like he's just browbeating these people, and he doesn't even know his fucking mic's on. But that's like totally like. You've never heard that?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he tells us.
If I have, I don't remember it.
He's just telling us to just shut up, just shut up.
Is it on like a Clash or something?
It's something like that. Yeah, it's great. But as a performer and as a wrestler, like people are like, "Oh, DD Page," which is what Van Hammer called him. It's like, well, he was cool in the ring. It's like, no, that guy sucked. His promos sucked. I hate his stupid face.
DD Page.
Yeah, the only thing he ever did good was Kimberly Page.
And I do like the feud with Savage, but like you said, it's Savage.
Yeah, the only thing he ever brought good to the business was Kimberly Page, which she still looks amazing.
I haven't seen her in a while, but... Okay, so next on my list is, we're going into the present day for this one. I had to put him on the list, and that's Kenny Omega. I don't see it.
I can't talk a lot about Kenny Omega because I haven't watched a lot of Kenny Omega stuff.
I find Kenny Omega to be annoying and pretentious. I don't like his voice. I don't like his character. I think that he does things in the ring that at times are fine, but they're also like, okay, we all understand that wrestling is choreographed. We all get it. Unless we're from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, we all get it. And if there's any listeners that nobody in Tuscaloosa, Alabama is listening to this, they don't have a podcast app. But anyway, the Kenny Omega is, I mean, he's hot garbage, really. He does some good moves. All right, he does some fantastic things from time to time. I'm not denying that, but Kenny Omega is like the entire promotion of TNA, wherein he would not fucking exist if Dave Meltzer didn't put him over all the time. And the only reason Dave Meltzer quit putting TNA over was because Mike Tenay left, because they're friends. But Kenny Omega is, I believe, highly overrated, and I don't know. I don't see it in the guy. Like, I've seen people compare him to Brian Pillman, and I want to hock a big fucking loogie in their face. Like, this guy is not even 44 times the talent that Brian Pillman was. And I don't know. And like I said, I know you said you can't speak to it very much because you haven't seen a lot of Kenny Omega. But I have, from the beginning to now, I do not understand people's fascination with him. Just because you can wrestle an hour with Okada doesn't make you great to me. I don't give a fuck. Whatever. I mean,
I don't know a lot about him, so.
All right, so we'll move.
His hair looks like ramen noodles.
All right, cool. I'm good with that comment.
And not even like good ramen noodles.
Like the like hard ramen noodle, like they haven't been boiled long enough.
Like I'm saying, like not even like good ones, like the pork flavored ones. It's like the lemon, like the lime shrimp. Who's eating lime shrimp ramen noodles? Fucking piece of shit.
But yeah, so that's my diatribe on Kenny Omega, and
Okay. This next one's gonna piss you off.
it is.
Maybe.
So it's gonna piss me off, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested then. I'm intrigued.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You ready for it?
Okay.
CM Punk.
I wouldn't say I'm pissed, but I definitely don't understand. I mean, all right. So I'm gonna go on my diatribe, and then no, I'll let you explain yours first. Go ahead.
Okay, the guy was okay on the mic. All right, and the reason that I think he stood out on the microphone wasn't because he was super great on it. It was just because he was saying shit that nobody else was saying. If that makes sense.
But couldn't you say the same thing for Steve Austin? I'm just playing devil's advocate.
You could. But I've seen like good CM Punk matches.
Oh yeah, and I know. You're not running him down. It's kind of the same thing as what I was saying about TA.
Yeah, like I've seen CM Punk have good matches. Like, he has like a great match with Rey Mysterio, where it's like Rey's mask versus his hair.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fantastic match, and I think the only reason that CM Punk is like revered as what he is because he came in an era where shit was changing, you know, and he didn't fit into the mold of it.
You're describing Steve Austin.
No, I'm not.
You are.
No, I'm not.
Shit was changing. He didn't fit into the mold of it.
Shut up for a second. Listen, Linda. The reason he's not Stone Cold Steve Austin, okay, is because he was coming in when a time when shit was like stagnant and becoming stagnant, and it didn't change.
But that wasn't his fault. That was the booking's fault.
But no, if he would have been as good as he thought he was in his head, that fucking business would have changed.
That's not true. That's not true.
Changed the business.
And CM Punk could have too. The difference is, and then I'll let you continue, but the difference to me between Punk and Austin, because I think they are parallels of each other, and the difference is that Vince McMahon was in different stages of his life and different stages of his company. When Steve Austin came around, it was, well, fuck, this character's taking off. People really like it. This guy's really good, and I either have to roll with this or go out of business. Because I promise you, if Steve Austin would have come along in 1988 in the same aspect, he would have been swept under the rug just like David Schultz was. CM Punk came along in a time where there was no competition. Nobody was breathing down Vince's neck. Okay, ratings are going down. Who gives a fuck? We're the only wrestling company that makes a difference in this company, and I've already made in this country, and I've already made $1 billion. I want John Cena. I want Batista. It was, I'm telling you, it is a parallel until you get to the state of the actual business at the time, and that's where the difference happens. And I understand what you're saying, and I'm not shitting on your opinion. I know how you feel about Punk. I feel differently. I think that he had every single thing that Steve Austin had. He bell to bell, one of the best wrestlers in the world, Steve Austin. On the mic, one of the best promo cutters in the world, Steve Austin, CM Punk. There are parallels between those two guys that if you put CM Punk in the same position and you put Vince McMahon in the same position that you had Vince McMahon and Steve Austin in 96, 97, the same thing would have happened. My opinion.
Okay.
And I mean, but I know, and it's like I said, it's kind of the same thing as I feel about TA. I know, like, you are about CM like I am about TA. But I think that CM Punk suffered from the fact that WWE had no viable competition at that time. So Vince looked at Steve Austin as a saving grace, and he looked at CM Punk as a 6-month storyline, if that makes sense. There was a different mentality behind it. But I know you're not as near as big a fan of his as I am. And for the record, we go back to Billy Graham. From a professional perspective, I it's funny because on TV I look at CM Punk on par with Austin, but behind the scenes I look at CM Punk on par with Billy Graham and Mick Foley. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they think they're better than what they are.
Yeah. They hold themselves in higher regard, and I don't know. I mean, I guess they're both happy. They're both happy, and they're both fucking rich, so...
I mean, he gets to go home with AJ Lee. Isn't that who he married?
Mm-hmm.
Lucky him. You know? Good for him. Wait, like... As Phillip Brooks, he's an overachiever. Congratulations, buddy.
And no matter what, whether he's Phillip Brooks or CM Punk, he still has an alien head. I will say that.
And like I said, I'm not even saying that I'm not a CM Punk fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, it's like, settle down. He's not that great.
So the next on my list is the Road Warriors. They are regarded as one of the best tag teams of all time, and I wholeheartedly disagree. I do think they're one of the biggest attractions of all time, but they are not by any means one of the best tag teams of all time. When I live in a world that has the Hart Foundation, the Rockers, Demolition, the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, I mean, I could go on. The Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, it's a good act, but they're fucking overrated. They weren't really that good.
I'm not saying they're good, but you know what I'm going to say they are? They're the most believable tag team of all time.
I think the Steiner brothers are.
I think if it was a real fight and everybody was healthy and it was just a fight, I think Hawk and Animal would just beat the shit out of Steiner brothers.
See, I don't think so. I look at Animal.
Like if everybody's drunk, like
I don't see that because I look at Hawk almost like I look at Batista. Like, all right, you're physically impressive, but I think that if the fight got too hard with Rick Steiner, you'd probably pull one of your pretty little pecs.
Maybe.
I don't know. And I see what you're saying, but I've always thought that the Steiners and probably Dr. Death and Gordy, even though they're not one of my favorite tag teams, are the two most like believable tag teams. But I think the Warrior. I'm not hating. Again, I hate this list. I hate that we have to go through this list because there's so many talents on it. I'm like, it's not that I don't dislike them. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think the Road Warriors are overrated. And again, as far as an act goes, when you want to put them up there with Hulk Hogan or Andre the Giant or any of that ilk, yeah, fucking put them up there. That's absolutely. But as a tag team, as a wrestling tag team, overrated in my opinion.
Okay.
This was a hard list because I'm like, I'm a fan of this person. I'm a fan, but I think they're overrated. So we'll go on to your next, unless you have anything else on that.
I just know I would be like all those NWA studio jobbers.
Well, yeah, well, obviously.
Stand out there like, I am Iron Man.
I am shedding my pants.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, Animal seemed like a nice guy in the back, but Animal's all high on crank. It's gonna suck. Like, nothing's cooler than Hawk, like, flexing his neck and busting
popping that leash off.
Yeah, that's fucking great shit, man. Damn, they're scary. But I got one guy left on my list.
Me too.
And it's Kerry Von Erich.
I almost put the entire Von Erich family on my list.
I like Kevin Von Erich.
Yeah, I almost put the entire Von Erich family on my list. And I am not going to disagree with you on Kerry Von Erich at all. I agree. I think that he was a decent worker who benefited from the fact that his dad was the promoter. And all you have to do is look at his WWF run and realize, and you watch it, because...
Which he really couldn't run when he was in the WWF.
He could hobble. But when his
WWF hop...
He comes in, and it's initially a big pop, because it's new. But if you watch his Intercontinental title run, you can see why they put the title back on Hennig so quickly. Because it really fizzles out. And, God dang! I mean, he wasn't a great promo.
And I don't even want to say his WWF run, because his WWF run, okay, it's his own doing, because you're a grown person and
right.
You make your own decisions, you know?
Yeah.
And he was chemically imbalanced, would be the best way to say it. And he only had 1 foot and all that, you know. But if you, like, even when you look at him before he even got to the WWF, I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only reason he got, and it's a shitty thing to say, but the only reason he was regarded the way he was because his brother died.
Yes, and also to me personally, that entire family benefited from the fact that they were a big name in Dallas, Texas. You know what I mean? Like, all we have to choose from is World-Class Championship Wrestling and some outlaw promotion. Well, we're going to go with World-Class Championship Wrestling. And, because, I mean, I personally think the whole fucking Von Erich family is overrated. from the dad to the kids, and their personal thing aside, it's tragic and it's terrible. And I feel bad for Kevin, or I feel good for him because he seems like he's found peace. From a personal standpoint,
he's got his sweet banana lattes and.
I mean, yeah, from a personal standpoint, you know, that is what it is. But I never even liked him that much. Like, I don't know. I was, I guess, going back on it, looking back at the territories, I've always been a Memphis guy over a Dallas guy.
Yeah. I'm just saying, out of the Von Erichs, like none of them cut a good promo.
No.
And from what I understand, when David was in Florida, he was a pretty good heel.
I haven't seen enough of it to be a judge.
I haven't seen enough of that to say yes or no.
Yeah, me neither.
But I've seen enough of Dallas to say that, you know, Kevin wasn't the best promo guy in the world, but Kevin was pretty good in the ring.
Yeah.
But Kerry sucked in promos. He had a stupid horse face. and I'm not a Kerry Von Erich fan. Like, I would have preferred, if I would have been a 26-year-old person, you know, when Kerry Von Erich debuted in the WWF, I would have been like, man, I wish that would have been Kevin Von Erich.
Mm-hmm.
If it makes sense. I don't see the passion people have for Kerry Von Erich.
Gosh. I mean, like I said, you're not going to find any disagreement with me. And it's funny because when I was a young dude and watching WWF at the time, what's that?
I didn't even like Kerry Von Erich then.
See, when I was a young dude and I was watching WWF at the time and he first came in and he had his thing with Perfect, I dug on him. And to be honest, at that time, I hadn't seen hardly any Dallas wrestling, so I didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like, to me, he was new.
Yeah, I didn't even like him then.
And I dug him then, but that was, you know, the same vein of digging the Warrior when you're a kid. You know what I mean? But hindsight and watching back through the annals of professional wrestling, I totally agree with you on Kerry Von Erich.
And the ironic part is that Kerry Von Erich played the Ultimate Warrior in 1992.
According to our friends' dads and shit, yeah.
And did you also know this? Hey, did you know there were 3 Undertakers?
3 Undertakers?
And there were 3 different Undertakers.
Woo! Hey,
if you don't believe me, just look at his tattoos.
No, hold on.
Because nobody ever gets different tattoos.
Don't go any farther on this, because I think that's something we should talk about on a podcast.
We're on a podcast.
But on a future We Can't Wrestle podcast. We should talk about, like, crazy rumors from the past or whatever. Like the fact that there was a second Ultimate Warrior and all that bullshit. I'm writing that down now, listeners. Wrestling folklore.
And then write down, it's a non-wrestling one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's folklore. Write down, like, craziest celebrity controversies.
Craziest celebrity controversies.
Or / scandals.
Got it. So there's our next show. Wrestling folklore and craziest celebrity controversies. Welcome to the production meeting, ladies and gentlemen. So now, I'm going to do my number one. Aaron, I bet you know who I'm going to say.
I have no idea.
He wrestles like a brick. He's got a head like a block. His promos suck fucking ass. He's my least favorite main event pro wrestler of all time. Crappy Ronnie Garvin. Fuck Ronnie Garvin. I don't care if he's still alive. Fuck you, Ronnie Garvin. You could probably kick my ass, but fuck you anyway.
He's still alive.
I hate Ronnie Garvin. I'm a trucker. I'm an NWA champion. Fuck Ronnie Garvin. I hate that fucking fuck. With his stupid stomp and his crappy ass. I hate Ronnie Garvin. I hate Ronnie Garvin. Even Randy Savage couldn't make me interested in Ronnie Garvin.
He'd punch a guy and then teabag him, though.
Whatever. Fuck Ronnie Garvin. He's the most overrated wrestler of all time. Anybody that puts Ronnie Garvin over doesn't understand anything ever. I hate him. I hate him. He's just
punch him in the face.
There's nothing appealing about Ronnie Garvin ever. Like, I have never watched anything Ronnie Garvin was ever involved in and been interested in it. I hate him. I'm sorry. I can't help it, listeners. I hate Ronnie Garvin. I don't know if you have anything else to say to that. I can name 10 episodes of this show where I've gone off on this diatribe, so I don't know that I need to repeat it. But his stupid haircut and his stupid promos, his stupid voice, and any promotion he was ever in never appealed to me. I find Ronnie Garvin to be boring, and I don't get it. I don't understand why he was the NWA champion. I don't understand why he ever got a push anywhere. Miss Atlanta Lively, she's my favorite women's wrestler ever. Fuck Ronnie Garvin.
I heard he's a nice man.
I'm sure he is. Fuck Ronnie Garvin, the wrestling personality. Is that his real name? Is Ronnie Garvin his real name? Because my Wikipedia actually won't let me look him up because I hate him so much.
Why wouldn't his real name be Ronnie Garvin?
I don't know. I mean, Hulk Hogan's name isn't Hulk. It's wrestling. Ric Flair's name isn't Ric Flair. It's Richard Fleer. Are you looking it up for me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, help me out here, goddammit.
I thought you had, his name is Roger Burns.
All right. So Roger Burns
is a Canadian.
Mr. Burns, I'm sure, is a perfectly nice guy and a great character on The Simpsons. But Ronnie Garvin is the most overrated wrestler of all time.
And I'm going through his wiki right now.
Hmm.
And, it says Roger Barnes' stepson is Jimmy Garvin.
Who's actually not too bad. A little scuzzy, but not too bad.
It also says here that in 1994, he was voted the most underrated wrestler of all time.
Is that serious? Or are you just fucking with me? Because I'm gonna vomit on my microphone.
Oh, he was the fictitious brother of Terry Garvin. You know what he did.
Now you are fucking with me.
No, I'm saying, that's how Ronnie Garvin got his name, was that he wrestled as the fictitious brother of Terry Garvin.
Well...
You know what Terry Garvin did, right?
Well,
Do you know what Terry Garvin is?
Well, Terry Garvin's the sexual molester, right?
Yeah.
However, the worst thing he ever did was introducing us to Ronnie Garvin.
They were fake brothers.
Hmm.
The worst thing he ever did was rape children. Not Ronnie Garvin, Terry Garvin.
Wait, he raped children?
Terry Garvin.
Oh, I thought he just raped, adult guys.
Well, ring boys.
Were they adult age?
They were 16.
Oh, then no, yeah, he's the worst.
Yeah.
But if they were of age, I would still say Ronnie Garvin's the worst. But since they're not...
These are like ring boys.
Oh, no, yeah. Then Terry Garvin's the worst.
Like,
but,
Pat Patterson supposedly...
Yeah,
like,
supposedly.
Patterson's friends with Terry Garvin, but Pat Patterson was just, like, rubbing, like 24-year-old Brickhouse Brown's booty in the elevator.
Yeah.
You know? Well, he's a man. You know what I mean? Like,
Pat
Terry
was
Garvin
just...
was, like, thrusting himself upon, like, 15-year-old boys.
Yeah, so Terry Garvin's the biggest fuck star in pro wrestling. He's a fucking asshole. But Ronnie Garvin's definitely still the most overrated. And I think you still have one left, don't you?
No.
Oh, was Kerry your number one?
Yes.
Oh, well, I win.
Okay.
Kerry Von Erich was definitely better than Ronnie Garvin. at least Kerry Von Erich had some panache to him, some flair. Ronnie Garvin was a boring ass fucking